Hi everyone and welcome back. In this video I want to make my K10 come back on the road. Maybe not getting it inspected, but anyway I want it to be drivable enough so we can drive it here around town. So the major problem we have is electrical, and I opened the hood here and I realized that the alternator isn't even hooked up. So we have to fix that. And also nothing electrical inside the truck works. No lights, no wipers, no heater, motor, indicators, nothing works. So I'm guessing we have some sort of power supply into the cab that isn't working. And I actually saw this in the background. I'm not sure what this is for or where I left it off, but we're gonna do some troubleshooting, see whatever it is. Maybe there's something down here. This was a 6.2 diesel truck. I put in the Chevy small block, so there's a bunch of wires hanging around. So we have a bunch of electrical to work on here. So we're gonna start working with that. So I start looking on some stuff here, and obviously this thing is going to the alternator. This is going on the stud here. But there's two ways you can connect these two, and either one of them needs to be going from this cable, just from here up to here, and the other one is going to the light or gauge. So I'm gonna see how this is supposed to go, because I'm not really sure what they have done here. But that's not any big issue. Also, this cable is the one that comes over there. I'm not sure how it was before, but I think it went through the glow plug relay or something. So that's why it's not connected. So I'm gonna just connect that to the bulkhead there. So that's the alternator shouldn't be our biggest problem here. Also, all of these cables were for the diesel filter, so that we can ignore. I'm not sure if maybe this can just unconnect. Yeah, it could. So off with that. We're gonna try to remove as much cables as possible. There's one here goes under the truck, and there's one over here that went to some sort of relay that wasn't connected to anything. So I'm gonna try and remove as much as possible. But I have checked, and I have positive electricity on all of the fuses. So everything here is powered, and there was one fuse that was broken, and they're so hard to read. I think it said gauges, but I don't know. But I changed the fuse and nothing started to work. But the only thing that works is the hazards. So that's the only thing up here that works. We have no lights, no wipers or anything. So we have to do a lot of more digging into this. But I think when we start removing cables, hooking up the alternator, I think it will after hand start working, or we will find the issue if we start following cables. So I'm not worried. So I'm just gonna continue troubleshooting. Now I started to get somewhere. I tried to hook up the alternator just with some cables to make it work before I start putting on proper cable shoes and stuff like that. So anyway, on this, since this has a gauge and not an alternator light, you can only take this from the battery over to the alternator, and then from this you only take it to this, and it should work. But it didn't, so I tried a little bit back and forth, but then I just stole the alternators that was supposed to be on the 6.4 Chevelle that I found after one of the last videos. So I swapped out the alternators, and now it works. So it works like this. If this wouldn't have a gauge and had a lamp instead, this need to connect to the alternator lamp. But anyway, this works. So now I'm just gonna put on some shoes here and make this look a bit more nicer. So yeah, we have a charging system. We're just gonna tidy it up. But I have checked some other stuff, and we still don't have any lights of any sort. And I tried, the hazards work. These are the hazards and these are the regular indicators. So I moved this over here and to see if it works, and it did. So I was like, this is going to be a big problem. But I measured here, and we had some positive feed, and we had some changes depending on where you put the switch. So I just put it back and it worked. So obviously there was a bad connection from sitting. So now we actually have indicators. You can hear the indicator lamp here doesn't work, but if we do like this, you can see. So at least we have the charging system working and the indicators working, but we still don't have any headlights or tail lights, no wipers. So yeah, we still have to do some more troubleshooting. I took out the gauge cluster so that I can change the indicator lamp here in the housing, and also because I wanted to troubleshoot this a little easier. And I'm not 100% sure that this is the feed for this, but I would assume that. But there is no positive feed up to the light switch at all, so somewhere we're not getting a positive feed. So I'm just gonna trace it and see where we're missing power. So I started to look here on the bulkhead connector and realized that this pretty big red wire did not have any, it was totally disconnected, no ground, no positive. So I followed that and realized that that was this cable that came out here. So I connected it here to this little thing I did. I'm gonna do this proper, don't worry, but for now we're just testing. So now we have a feed that supplies that with power, and now all of a sudden we have a positive here. So I also saw that here in the front we have at least one light over there. This one doesn't work, and for those of you that don't know, since if you're over in America, you probably don't know why there are small bulbs here. It's a Swedish conversion thing where we cannot have white indicators, so you have to spread them so that you can put amber bulbs in here and having the position lights not being amber. So that's why it is like that. But also back here you can see we have just the smallest amount of light coming out of there. So that was the problem with the lights, obviously. So now we can start looking at all of the bulbs and everything and making it work. We can check the brake light also. And I have checked under here, and these two fuses did not have power before, but they have power now. So that worked. This still not getting any power, switched or non-switched, so I'm not sure what that is. But we'll come a bit down the road anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna continue troubleshooting. Unfortunately the wiper hadn't started working, but it doesn't have to be problems with the electrical system. It might be the wiper motor. I mean, maybe there's a reason the wipers are tilted. So yeah, we're gonna do some more troubleshooting. We know that the light switch works because we at least have power here to the position lights, but we don't have to the high and lows. There is no power here either way. So I've checked here on the inside, and this is the later model, so it has the low and high beam here. So I've checked under here, and that is this thing, and I've checked that it works. It switches the power over from the different here. So this is the connector, and we have a feed. So I'm not sure if it's good feed, but for now it seems to be working this far. So obviously this isn't the problem, which is nice. We don't have to work with the column. So yeah, I'm gonna keep searching where the problem is. So magically, after fiddling with the switch, it's just started to work. So it works on the drive side. It doesn't work on the passenger side because I'm not sure it's because, but I was to remove the connector, and one of this pulled out. So I'm gonna change this, and we'll see if everything works. And with the new bulb, we have both low beams and high beams, and this one looks a little bit more dim than that one. I think that is because the reflector is pretty rusty, so I would believe that's why that one is a little bit worse. Also, the small bulb in there isn't working, so we have to change that anyway. But that works, and I know both high beam and low beam works. And I also checked here in the cluster and fixed the bulb, so now we have high beam indication. And I'm not sure if I showed you, but I also got the this one to work. Both of the bulbs here in the gauge cluster was working. You just have to take them out, put them in, and bend a little bit on the connecting points, and it started to work. The only thing I've not gotten to work is the backlighting for the gauges, and I'm assuming it's this thing that's broken in the twisting part, but that I'm not going to worry about right now. So we're this far. Now I have to fix the indicators, and here in Europe we have to have, at least in Sweden, we have to have side indicators on, I'm not sure, it's a rule that came in the 80s. So they have put something here before that I think looks really hideous. So I think I'm gonna reroute it so that this will indicate instead. We don't have to have a amber light to the side, anyway, only for indication. So I'm gonna fix that and change some bulbs in here, and yeah, not much work to get all of the lights working. Got this thing working, the bulb was broken, and also the cable here was very short and the wires was just twisted together. So yeah, it is what it is. But I know my dad gave me one of these last week for this project, and I can't find it. I have searched everywhere, but I can't find it. So that's a pain. So for now, I'm gonna put it back with the old one. So when I find it, we'll put the new one on. But at least that works. So we're gonna check these, if these work. Then we have to figure out if we wanna do something, make these flash instead of putting something here, because I would really not want something like that. So yeah, we're gonna see if we can fix this instead. So I just fiddled a little bit with this bulb and it started to work. And now I'm curious. I don't really know. Are these supposed to flash on a square body, or are they just supposed to be illuminated? I'm not really sure, but I don't know why they would have these. I mean, they are obviously flashing, and I think in that case you don't need these, but I mean, someone could have put on all those on because they was thinking it looked good, but yeah, I don't know. This will be enough, so I'm gonna remove that stuff, and on the other side, of course. But anyway, now we have all the indicators working. This thing, I just had to fix the ground strap a little bit, and it started to work. This also works. I realized that it's hard to check your lights out in the bright sun. So yeah, but everything works. High beam, low beam, position lights, indicators, so everything in the front works. I'm just going to put this back together, and then we can look at the rear. Here in the rear, most of the things work. We have a position light, we have indicators. The indicators are, as I said, European conversion. You have to have amber or orange indicators in the rear. So the most usual thing you do is you remove the backup lights and you convert them to indicators instead. So the only thing that doesn't work is the brake light. I have a piece of wood on the brake pedal and it still doesn't work. Also, these are missing on both sides, and the brake light doesn't work on either side. I have removed the bulbs and checked them, and they don't work. So I'm gonna see if these start working, just if I put a bulb in them. I think it's nice when you can see the light here, but anyway, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I don't gonna bother too much, but the brake light we really need to look into. Sometimes you're lucky, we hope anyway. This is the brake light switch, and you can see this has come apart. So hopefully it is that easy. So I don't know why they have cut it, but they have. So yeah, let's see if it works if we put them together. So it wasn't that easy, and I actually realized that it probably wasn't before I tested it. And the thing is, since these came from factory with you have the brake light is both the brake light and the indicators, which means that we have to split that here in Sweden. So the easiest thing is to cut the brake light cable, and then you only have the indicators. You move the indicators down to the backup lights and use them as indicators, and then you run a new brake light cable to the brake lights. So in that, and you have split it. So that's the easiest route to do it. So I think that's why they have cut it, and this isn't connected, but there should be something here, and there isn't. I can't find any loose cable that is seems to be going any direction to the rear. So I'm not sure when maybe I have removed some cables before and I found something and I pulled it out or something like that. But also, if you look under here, you can see that there is a bunch of connections and loose wires, and yeah, it's a mess. And this is really common on Swedish trucks, so it's something we have to deal with. But I only have to find the brake light cable and connect it. Now you see that it works. So I started by removing this, and I saw that they had made a cut here to this blue wire, and I followed that blue wire, and it just goes under the bed up to this taillight. So I looked at this taillight, and from here it goes a double cable down on the frame that goes forward. So I just looked here at below the firewall, and I have already seen this cable. It's the only one that comes up here that looks suspicious. So I checked that, and it is completely loose, and I just put on a little power, what do you call it? I borrowed some power from over there, and now it works. So I'm not sure if I have removed that at some point or it was before I got the truck, but at least that is the brake light cable. So now I only have to connect that into the brake pedal switch, and we will have brake lights. Here we have everything working in the rear. It just hit me that I have to fix the license plates lights, which one is missing unfortunately. But anyway, all of this works. So I had a pair of new taillights, unfortunately without the chrome trim, but this didn't have the chrome trim originally anyway, but I like the chrome. So we're gonna put those on. The thing is, on the old ones they have painted orange here on the inside, and obviously the bulbs are clear and the lenses on the new ones are clear. So I'm gonna paint the bulbs a little bit so that we will have orange, because white won't pass inspection. So I'm gonna fix that and put this together. Here we have the new taillights on, and I actually painted with some orange paint over the original bulbs, but I found a pair of orange bulbs, so I put them in instead. It looks a bit nicer. So now we're done with the taillights, but as I said, I realized I have to look at the license plate lights, and unfortunately this one is missing. So I'm not sure if I have to have both, but I'm gonna see if I can find them on like Rockauto or something. But anyway, we're gonna see if we can make that work. So I have this loose, and obviously it doesn't work. And I can't remove the bulb, it's completely stuck. I've tried everything here and I don't want to crush it with my fingers. So I'm gonna go ahead and smash it and take some pliers and remove it and see if I can get this to work. I have checked, they have these on Rockauto for like 10 bucks a piece, so I can have them at home for maybe 50 bucks. So I'm gonna go ahead and order them, but if I can, I want to make this work for now. And we have a power supply here so that we can connect it. So I'm gonna see if I can save this for the moment, but I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. Very ironic. I tried to crush the bulb. First I smacked it with the pliers, and I smacked it against this, and you can see the marks, but it didn't break. And then I felt it, and it has come loose. So now we can try and solve this. It's a bunch of rust, so I'm gonna see if the bulb works or it looks like I've broken it. But anyway, I can put in a new bulb and clean up the contacts. So I think we can make this work. And with some cleaning and a new bulb, this works. So that's great. It's very unfortunate that I only have one, but it is what it is. And I mean, if I buy a new one, it's gonna be super shiny, and I have one not so shiny, so I see how I do it. But anyway, we can make one work at least. So I'm gonna get this back together. And there we have it, working. And I made a very lousy installation here because since I have to redo this when we get the other side, I just twisted the cables and used some electrical tape to get it together. Now at least we know that we have a power supply, and we can make a nice cable arrangement when we have both sides. But for now we at least have one that's working. So with that said, I think all of the lights of the truck on the truck is working right now, so at least we're done with that. So I'm not sure what we're going to continue with, but I'm out of time here for today, so I'm going to do some tidy up and see what we'll be doing tomorrow. We're back. It's Tuesday morning, and I'm really happy today because I didn't feel like we were going to get as far as we did yesterday. All of the lights on the truck is working, and just piece after piece or part of a part is starting to work. I had some extra time yesterday, so I looked at the windshield wiper motor and I fed it with some positive here, and I realized, I saw that they moved a little like this, so I force fed it here with power, and I took and helped them back and forth a while, and now it's just, it works. They are slow as hell, but at least they work, and we obviously need new wiper blades, but if you turn them off they keep going, but if you do like this, so yeah, you have to struggle a little bit, but they work anyway. And the washer also works, and yeah, so that works. You need some new wiper blades, but I was looking for the horns, and it didn't have any, so I checked here, and here we have a cable, and we have no life in this thing. So I checked over here and realized that it's cut over here, so the power is supposed to go to the driver's side horn and just loop over to the passenger side. So I took my power probe here and hooked it up to this cable with the sound on, and now I can just try it. So we know that the horn works, it's just that we don't have any horns. So when I started to work on this thing, I wasn't really expecting to feel like getting closer to make it street legal or getting it to pass inspection, but now I feel we're really close. So I thought, might as well buy a pair of horns, buy new wiper blades, and do the small stuff, and yeah, we can try and inspect it, get some, maybe we get some small faults, but then we can fix them. So I think that's what my plan is right now. I'm gonna go ahead, buy a pair of horns, buy some wiper blades. I need to put some breathers in this so that we don't get junk into the engine, but I can't really figure out, there's not a lot more to do to make this street legal, so I think that will be our goal. So I'm gonna go ahead and buy some stuff. So I went ahead, bought some new horns, bought some new wiper blades. Maybe not the most important thing to do right now, but might as well check off the boxes and do everything so we get one step closer to getting this thing inspected. So I'm gonna go ahead and put on this stuff. Got the new horns on, and I plugged everything in and they don't work. I showed you before that we were getting power here, but now we're not. So I don't understand what happened. All the fuses are whole, and none of them has blown, so I'm not sure what happened here. I have to do some troubleshooting. I checked all the wiring here all the way to the bulkhead connector, and if I apply power there, it works. So for some reason something has happened in the cab, so it doesn't work anymore. It worked before we went and got new horns, and now it doesn't. So yeah, you have to see what the fuck happened in the cab. So over here is where the horn relay is supposed to go, and I have it right here. I have tested, it works. We have a power supply, we have the signal cable to the horns, all of that works. We get power. I can make the horns sound from here, but we don't get any ground from the steering column. So for some reason between there and there something has broken, so we have to find that. So I removed the horn button and I fiddle a little bit with this cable. As you can see, it's been redone before and it worked right. Yeah, you can see. So something is bad with this wire, so I'm gonna see if we can solve this. So I took some WD-40 down into the hole there, and I pulled the cable back and forth. It's spring loaded and goes on this ring here on the inside. So for now it works, but I don't know. We'll see if it works in the long run. But if it stops working, we know where the problem is, and we can take it apart. But I'm not really in the mood to do that right now. So for now, the horn is fixed. What's the odds of this thing working? I fix the horns, and the next time I push it, it doesn't work. It spiraled down with looking for problems, but anyway, it's good for now. But now I want to tackle the fuel gauge, and I've already done some troubleshooting here. But we have ignition on and it's obviously over full, which means that we don't have any ground from the tank. It's ground based on where it wants to be, so we know we don't get any signal from the tank. And I have looked under here, and I mean, this was a dual tank truck, so we have this to the fuel switch. And I have done some research, and the pink wire here is supposed to be the sender, or I mean the gauge, and here we have the right tank and the left tank. So in theory we should just be able to put a cable between these and it should work, but it doesn't. And I don't get any reading from the tank, and I mean, it's a new tank with a new sending unit, so it should work, but it doesn't. But when I put this tank in, I saw this thing, and I believe that if you have a one tank setup, you're supposed to use this wire, and now this is an extra thing that makes it go over to that side. So unfortunately, I'm not gonna, it should work. So by putting this on, it in theory shouldn't make any difference, but I have looked, the connector is on, and I'm not sure what the problem is, but I think I might as well loosen the tank down a bit so I can try with this cable instead, and see if it works. I'm not, I don't want to do it, but I think it's the best way. I really want a working gas gauge, so we're gonna see if we can fix this. So I took down the tank as far as I could without losing the filler neck or something like that. I managed to get the other cable on, or connector on, and here you have the old one, and might have had some issues with these, so maybe that's why this didn't work. But now if we look up here, we can see that we have a reading of almost empty, which should be correct. And I was going to fill up the tank a little bit more to check if it raised the fuel level a bit. And when I did that, I removed the gas tank, and I had a large sucking in or squeezing out air sound. So it was obviously overpressure in the tank. I mean, it's hot outside now, so probably it's overpressure in the tank. And then I was thinking, why? We have a vent, this big hose, and then I realized that this is not a vent in that meaning, because I mean the air has nowhere to go since this cap isn't vented, and you have that down there. So I mean the air doesn't have anywhere to go. So now what I did, I had the three connectors on the fuel tank sending unit. We have the feed, the return, and the vent. So now I removed the plug I did on the vent, and I put the hose here that I took around here so that it can breathe. Unfortunately I don't have the proper end fitting for a tank vent, but this is going to work at least. So yeah, now we have that fixed. So now I think we're done with the tank. I'm gonna assume that the fuel sending unit works. So the thing I want to do now is I really want to get out on the road and test this, but before I really need to check all the oils in the axles, in the transfer case, in the gearbox. So I'm gonna empty all of those and fill up with new. So I've started to drain everything, and there's only one thing I could complain about, but the rear axle looks basically brand new. The oil looked good, nothing to complain about there. The thing I was concerned about is that I know that they have been driven this thing off-road, and I was worried they have drenched the axles and gotten water into the axles, and that the oil would be bad because it was mixed with water, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And the front axle also looks really good, and nothing to complain about the oil. And the last thing I drained here was the transmission, and you can't see it, but it's clear oil, so it doesn't look bad at all. The only thing I'm going to mention is that the transfer case was filled with axle oil, 80W90 oil, which from everything I know, these are supposed to be filled with automatic transmission fluid. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem. The thing is, we could have a problem with the seals between the transfer case and the transmission, and we're having transmission oil leaking over to the transfer case. Same problem I have on my 89 truck, where the automatic fluid leaks over to the transfer case and overfills it. I also thought there was a lot of oil in it, but I'm not sure how much there's supposed to be. So yeah, that's the only thing I'm gonna complain about or something, but I'm gonna fill that up with some automatic fluid. And I mean, all the fluids look great, so this was maybe a little bit pointless, but now at least I know that I have good stuff in it. And when I bought this thing, I got a box of stuff with at least, I know at least was one axle gasket, so I thought that maybe they were going to fix something with it. So yeah, now I at least know that we don't have a lot of water and stuff. So I'm gonna fix the covers, put them back on, and put in all the plugs and fill all of this up. I was cleaning the mating surfaces to hopefully make them seal better, and I couldn't help myself. These are not going to be red in the end, but I have a fun project with. So I think this is going to turn out pretty cool. But anyway, while these dry, I am going to start filling the transmission and transfer case. So I think you get an idea where this is heading. So let's see how it turns out. So this is how they turn out, and I'm really happy with it. And I really hope I don't offend anyone in America by putting too few stars on it. But I wanted the stars to be a little bit bigger so you can see them. And it's curved. It's really hard to do this, and it was really hard to tape these lines, and I got some fading out here. But I mean, if you look at them like this, they look pretty good. If you look like this, it looks really weird. But I mean, when you see this truck coming down the road, or you're seeing it at a parking lot and you just glance the diff cover under it, you're not gonna think about this. And I mean, I could take some more red paint and take a little brush and fix this, but I'm not gonna bother right now. So I think it turned out really good. I hope no one's offended. So we're gonna go ahead and put them on the truck. Bunch of bottles later, all of the fluids are filled, and I think this looks really cool. And this is not a thing I would normally do on a vehicle. It's not really my style, but I know my kids is going to love it, and I feel like on this thing I'm gonna widen my views a little bit, do a little more crazy stuff on. And I mean, this truck is white. I hate white vehicles. I think it's the most boring color ever. So I have some ideas on some paint schemes we can do on this, just some rattle can stripes and stuff. So we're gonna get to that later, but for now I'm really happy with the axle covers. And I mean, now from 3 feet away, you don't think about the fading white over the red. So I think this is really good. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy. So I think we're pretty much ready to take this for a test drive. So I'm gonna clean up a little bit. I'm gonna go over here and zip tie some stuff. I'm gonna see if I can find some breathers. Gonna check the lug nuts and stuff like that. And I think we're gonna take this on a test drive. I think we're as ready as we're ever going to be. Unfortunately, I didn't have any breathers, so I have to buy a pair of those. But I put some tension into the power steering. I filled it up a little bit, and it wasn't missing a lot. So I'm not sure what the leak. If you look under here, it looks like a pretty big leak. It's very oily everywhere. But it wasn't missing a lot, so I'm not sure. We really have to pressure wash that to see where it comes from before we do too much. But I have ordered some seals for it. I have to fasten the battery, I realized. But other than that, I zipped out some wires. There's a bunch of small stuff to do, but I really think we're drivable enough. I checked the wheels and the lug nuts were okay. I can't really think of anything more to do, but in about 50 minutes I must have picked up my kids for a thing at the daycare. So I mean, if I'm going to take this out on a test drive, and my hope was that I was going to, if everything worked, I was going to pick up the kids with the truck today. But I really think I'm stressing I can't find the words, but I really think it's not worth it right now. If I get into any sort of problem, everything goes to shit and I won't be able to pick up the kids in time. So there's a new day tomorrow, so we might as well leave it for today, feel good about what we have accomplished, and have a long day tomorrow where we can test drive this thing and see that everything works. So with that said, see you tomorrow, and we'll drive this thing. We're back. It's Wednesday, and it's actually already 12 o'clock because I've done some other stuff in the start of this day. So anyway, now I want to test drive this. And actually, yesterday, me and my kids took this for a little bit longer ride through our neighborhood, and I realized two problems. And the first is that I went through all of the lights, indicators, brake light, and all of that. And now, for some reason, you can see if we turn left, we got that. If we turn right, that doesn't illuminate, and you can hear the relay is going. And we have indicators working here on the back, but we don't have anything here in the front. So for some reason we don't have here, and we don't have the indicating light inside the cab. And I have done some troubleshooting here and to see, and all of the wiring harness here on the hood works. If I put power here on this blue cable, everything works. And so this is for the right front indicators, and I think can remember right now, but it's the yellow or green here is for the right rear. So everything works, but for some reason somewhere in the cab where it splits front and back, it has stopped working. So that's really weird. Just like the horn works 1 second and the next second it doesn't. So I really don't want to bother with that right now. So I'm just gonna do a lousy connection here just between these two so that it works for now, and I'm gonna tackle that later because I really don't want to do it right now. But besides that, you can see all of this rubber black powder, and that is the alternator belt. And when we were driving this, I went out and checked, and realized all of this, and saw this, and then we drove it a little bit more, and the belt just shredded totally. So I believe that you can see my chrome pulley here, that isn't so much chrome anymore. All of the chrome has gone away, and you can see it's pretty rusty here. So I think this is like a sandpaper and just shreds the belt. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the belts. I have a pair of new belts I actually picked up today for the Chevelle, but I'm gonna put them on here right now and order another set. So I'm gonna remove the belts. I'm gonna sand this as smooth as possible. Then I'm gonna apply some paint to it, so hopefully it becomes as smooth as possible so it don't wear down the belts. So I think that will solve this issue. So I'm gonna fix that and make a little cable over there. Then we can take this for a ride. So now the pulleys have dried, and I think this is gonna solve it. I also did the crankshaft because it was also pretty rusty. So yeah, now I think we're good. So that's done. I'm gonna put on the new belts. Also, I have made a little connector there, so the indicators work. I'm not proud of it, but it works, and I'm really tired of all the electrical trouble on this shitty truck, because I don't, why? Okay, if it didn't work from the start, but why did it start working yesterday, or why did I solve it, or yesterday, 2 days ago, and then it just stops working? I don't know, but yeah, anyway, we're this far, so I'm just gonna put on the belts so that we can drive this. Put the belts on. Unfortunately, the one that I bought didn't fit, but I had another one new laying around that fits, so both belts are new, so that's good. Hopefully won't have any problems with that, but I guess we'll see if we shred these belts also. But that's done anyway. But as you saw, I started the engine to clean the pulley on the crankshaft, and when I did that, I had loosened the alternator to remove the belts, and this ground was obviously not tightened, so all of the ground went to this little poor fellow, so it fried. So I removed that went from here to here, but instead I made this cable now. So before we only had this, now I have this down to here, and you already have this original wire going from the frame up to the core. So I mean, you could make another from here, but it's guaranteedly better than it was before, so I think this is good enough. But well, also I want to redo this sometime. This doesn't look that good, but I mean, we're still in the phase of getting this thing running. Down the road we can make new ground cables, and the positive cable is really long because something I had laying around. So yeah, we're still in the phase of working on this. We can do stuff nicer along the road, but I think we're done enough so that we can try and drive this thing on the road. So I guess we're ready to head off and try drive it on the streets for the first time. I looked at the paperwork, or what do you call it, the previous stuff on this truck, and it hasn't been insured or our sort of registered since 2006, so 18 years. So yeah, it's a pretty long time. But we'll hope for the best. So unfortunately the belt is squealing a lot here, so I can't really drive it. It's squealing so much, and I don't understand. It didn't squeal before we fixed it with the pulleys and that. And if I start it with, I mean, it doesn't, I mean, the bearings isn't 100%, but I mean, it's good enough. And if you start it with the belt on, it sounds horrible. If I pull the one of the cables, it stops because they don't have a battery to charge. And if I pull this cable and stop charging, it stops the squealing. So I don't know why the alternator is so hard to turn when it's trying to alternate and make power. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't an issue before I fixed the pulleys. Why is it an issue now? So yeah, I have to figure something out here. So I managed to make it stop squeal. I loosened the tensioner bolts to the alternator. Then I took my pry bar and pried until it stopped squealing, and I tightened it. So it's very tight now. I think it's too tight, but I want to drive it now. Maybe we have to buy a new alternator probably. But also another problem while I was starting and stopping here, the starter sounded horrible. And I tried to shim it earlier because it's been sounding horrible, but it was only worse. So now I loosened them, and I took my pry bar and I pried it over as much as I could here, which forces it over here in the back, and I tighten it, and now it sounds a lot better. So hopefully it stays in place. Otherwise I might get the front bracket here, or I don't know, I have to fix something. But for now it sounds good, and it isn't squealing as much. It's squeezed a little bit when I started, but then it stopped. But I want to drive this thing. I don't want to have more problems, so hopefully we can drive it now. So let's give it another try, and hopefully it doesn't squeal. A little bit. Now at least we can drive it. Okay, so we're about to get on the road here for the first time since 2006. Hope everything works. It's a real tractor with this SM465 gearbox, but it seems to be working anyway. I made a little stop before and checked under the hood in the neighborhood and saw that the valve cover on the driver's side is leaking a bit, so I tried tightening that up, and probably the gaskets are bad, so it's not the end of the world. We can fix that. But other than that, it drives about as good as you can expect for an old square body with blocks in the rear and extra leaves in the front of 35-inch tires. It's a bit all over the road, but it doesn't pull to either direction, so at first glance it's decent to drive, and it doesn't seem to be super aggressive gear ratio, which I like, because I was thinking that you was gonna throw through the gears in like 30 miles per hour and then that's that. But even though I'm cruising at 45 right now, it feels a decent RPM, so I think we can do highway speeds without revving to the moon. But it seems to be going pretty good, so we're gonna try and drive to the gas station, and hopefully we'll get there and we can fuel it up. So we hit a small bit of traffic here. Where I live, it's very popular to have summer homes, so during the summer we get a lot more traffic and people than in the colder months. So hopefully it works. Temp gauge is working, we're at 200 right now, so hopefully we don't have any issues with that. The oil pressure is through the roof, but at least it reads 0 when it's off, so I mean we have oil pressure. So yeah, we're just about to get to the gas station, so I think we're making it. We made it to the gas station, so first goal accomplished. So and I put some gas in it before I got here, before I drove, and it reads half full. So I'm really happy that I took down the tank and fixed that, so now the gas gauge works. So yeah, I'm gonna fill her up and then we can drive some more. We're heading home here from the gas station, and the gas gauge really works. It reads full now, and the truck seems to be working great. But when I'm cruising at like 45, which is the speed limit on the roads here where I live, it feels like a bit weak. Like I'm in 4th gear and I want to shift down to 3rd when I am coming to an uphill. So I'm not sure if, I mean, this was a long time ago I drove a truck with an SM465. It's a very special transmission. It's like driving a tractor, and it's a very long gap between 3rd and 4th. And I mean, with these big tires, I'm not sure what the gear ratio is, maybe 350 something or something like that. So maybe it's how it is, but otherwise it's just everything I could expect from a truck like this. It's bouncy, it vibrates, the tires makes a lot of noise, the gearbox is what it is. But I mean, for being the first test drive, it works really good. It's a little bit, I'm not gonna say it wants to follow the tracks in a row, but it's a little bit with the steering, but also with 35-inch tires and an old 4x4 with the solid axle up front. It's what you can expect. And I mean, now this is the first time I drive this. I've done a lot of work. I changed the engine, we've done the brakes, and it's been sitting for 18 years. So I mean, now you're sitting on needles and you're nervous that something is going to break. So while I drive this more and more, we can improve small stuff here and there. I think it's gonna be a decent truck to drive if you can live with what it is, being an old 4-wheel drive with a solid axle. They are not perfect. So yeah, I think it works really great. So I think I'm gonna head home and we can talk a little bit more. We made it all the way home, and as I said, on the road for the first time in 18 years. Maybe not something spectacular. Maybe, I mean, we changed the engine, we did the brakes, we did some small odds and ends, but I'm really satisfied anyway. We brought something back on the streets again. We have some small odds and ends to do before we can get this thing inspected, but I feel it's good that it gets some miles on it, because the brakes were a bit, it wanted to lock up the rear brakes, and I know that trucks in general, or this era, has a tendency to want to lock the brakes before the fronts when they have been sitting for a long while, and now I feel that that's a lot better. So I think it's nothing negative to drive it a bit before we head to the inspection, and we have to do some small stuff, but we're not far away. And now, I mean, you can drive it, you can enjoy it, and yeah, it's a truck again. So I'm really happy what we have accomplished, even though it's nothing super exciting. But yeah,
Anyway, that will be all for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I will see you later this week.